Hello, welcome, and thanks for joining us to help choose home when care is needed, a podcast all about the benefits, value, and safety of receiving care and services in the one place that feels most comfortable, wherever it is that the person needing care calls home. I'm your host, Maria Orsini, and I've been involved in healthcare at home since 1981. Before we meet today's guest, a brief thank you to our sponsors and partners, the National Association for Home Care and Hospice, Access, and Core Cubed. Today's episode is number 12 of season 4. Our guest today is Maria Botham, the CEO and founder of the Loop Village, a unique online community created especially for seniors. Please help me want you and welcome Maria Botham to Help Choose Home. First, Maria, let me just say how thrilled I am to have you with us today. And thank you so much for your time.
Oh, you're welcome. Thrilled to be here.
Let's start with you telling us a little bit about Loop Village and the concept and what it is that you do at Loop Village.
Well, I guess I would start by saying the Loop Village is something that was born during the pandemic. I think we were all experiencing some social isolation. So my co-founder and I realized she comes from a background of caregivers, boots on the ground for senior citizens. So we put our heads together and decided, you know what, we can actually put together a live virtual community that's really going to combat social isolation specifically for senior citizens. So we put our heads together and decided we're going to have 3 offerings within our community. And the first one would be companionship. So it's a one-on-one companion, which we call a village buddy. And they create a rapport with the senior individually. And the second offering would be live events and classes. So you can do a documentary club or go to movie night or take a yoga class or a poetry reading. Those are just some of the live events and classes. And then the third one is a cafe. So you quote, never eat alone again. Eating, I don't think people realize this, but eating is a social event. It's meant to do with other people. So nutrition and hydration with senior citizens becomes an issue. So we have this cafe, which eventually will be a 24-hour cafe, which you can pop into and have a meal and an unscripted chat with other people. So I think the differentiator of the Loop community is we always have a familiar face in all the events and classes and in the cafe. So it's almost like in the live reality world, going to a restaurant or a movie alone or even a bar is not the funnest thing. When you go with someone else and you have a familiar face with you, that makes it more inviting. So the Loop Village is a community for seniors that they can pop into, always have a familiar face, make a friend, and have something fun to do.
What a wonderful concept. So tell me, what devices access this? Is it phone or tablet or PC?
It's all the above. So you can pop in on your phone. Zoom makes it, everything is via Zoom. So you can, and actually the companionship is something you can do with a FaceTime on an iPhone. The hosts and the companions are pretty good at assisting in getting the seniors connected. So we work with them, whether it's their laptop or their iPad or their iPhone or whatever device they have, we can help get them connected.
And so if a senior is feeling uncomfortable with technology, there is someone to help with that as well.
100%. Yeah. We knew that, getting people connected is going to be one of our speed bumps, so to speak. So we give it the attention it deserves and we get them connected. And we always say sometimes it's frustrating trying to get connected, but that is still kind of social interaction and we try and make it fun and as painless as possible.
Well, devices are certainly a lot easier now than they ever have been. So
they really are.
And are you surprised by the number of seniors that are joining the Loop Village and that are taking advantage of this? Or did you always know it was going to be so popular?
Being first to market in an industry, there's always kind of a big question mark how it's going to be received. Now that we're kind of 10 months into it, I'm so thrilled at the response that we're getting and the excitement. And in all honesty, we're watching people's lives change for the better. We're improving the quality of life for seniors. We're changing the DNA of senior living. So, for instance, we had a woman come into the community and she would only take a phone call. And then she went from a phone call to a Zoom with the camera off. Then she progressed into the camera on with her lights off. Then the lights came on. And then all of a sudden she was, dressing up to come into the events and really kind of participating and making friends, sharing her phone number. And we retain seniors. So once they're in the community, which we call a village, they stay with us. So the response has been wonderful. In all honesty, people just say, wow, that's going to be something that changes people's lives. And the seniors themselves are always smiling. And it's kind of a win-win for the people working for the Loop Village and then for the seniors. And one of our mission statements is, if you're working in the village, you need to be getting as much out of it as the seniors are. So it's been wonderful.
Good, interesting. So take me through some of the offerings. I'm certain you attend some things. What are your favorite things to do?
That's a great question. Well, I love the meditation. So what we do with that is our Alberto, who is our meditation specialist, he reads some inspirational words and then plays unscripted guitar, just what comes from his heart. So we do that 3 times a week in the morning. It's a great way to start your day. We have another one that I love is Tai Chi. I've never done Tai Chi in my entire life, but Tai Chi it really just kind of cleanses the soul, and it's not really impactful on your body, yet you're moving and hitting pressure points that you would never know kind of changes your day and your week and your month if you're doing it regularly. So I really enjoyed that one. I would say poetry. So I stopped reading poetry back in college. All of a sudden I'm reading, Edgar Allan Poe again. And it's amazing. Teresa, who leads poetry, is a PhD at Pepperdine. And it's a really nice arena without forcing people, but somehow it happens organically. It just inspires. It's very thought-provoking. So it creates a lot of interaction with the seniors. And it makes you think in ways that you wouldn't normally. So I really love poetry. I think the last one, in fact, it was about commas and exclamation points and quotations and what those actually represent in a sentence in kind of a poetic way. So I like that because it's super thought-provoking. Let's see here. Oh, our live travel. So we have hosts all over the world taking us through the Champs-Élysées in France, Barcelona in Spain, Madrid. We went to an olive farm in Croatia. I learned stuff about olive oil I did not know, which is important for cooking in the kitchen. And just fun factoids. I myself do a cooking class, so and we try and kind of keep it so you don't need 40,000 ingredients in the kitchen. We narrow it down to 3 or 4 ingredients. So I do a lot of the egg dishes. I love cooking eggs, and there's about 1 million ways you can cook eggs. There was a nutrition class. We're kind of faced with eating 3 times a day. So when they start to kind of fold in these basic rules about eating and hydration, it inspires you, and it's for the betterment of your mind and body, which I love. We've got yoga, which is fantastic. We have chair yoga and stand yoga, just depending on what the seniors want and what they're in the mood for. We have storytelling. So it's kind of like a cocktail hour where you have a drink and you tell your best stories. And that really gets people interacting. I mean, I could go on and on. I love games. We have games with Susan, and she's just a natural at it. So, and we're building every day. So we're going to add, for instance, we're going to add an art history class. Art history is just amazing because it really reflects that time. It's like a history lesson. You're learning about what inspired the artist. So it's intellectual. So right now, I think we're focusing on some more, quote, teaching classes. So yeah, that's a good handful of what we're doing right now.
Really sounds amazing. And a couple of
So
things sound amazing. Number one is the never eating dinner alone again. So,
yes.
walk me through that. So, I'm preparing my meal alone in my home or in my assisted living facility or wherever it is that I call home.
Mhm.
But I'm alone. So, is there a certain time that I have to eat dinner, or are there people there most of the time?
So what we're doing now is we have scheduled times for the cafe. So we'll say, come eat dinner, come have lunch with us at 12:30, or come have dinner with us at 6 o'clock. So that gives the senior kind of a demarcation time to know, okay, I'm gonna have my meal ready and I'm gonna sit down and pop into the Loop Cafe. So that's how it's working now. Eventually, it's going to be a 24-hour cafe so that people can pop in whenever they want. But like I was saying before, eating is something that is meant to do with other people. And I think a lot of times what happens is if you don't have someone you're going to sit down and have a meal with, you shorten it or you skip it, or it's not as put together, because there's not as much purpose in it because you're not, a lot of times at the cafe, like yesterday, we do a lot of talking about food because we've all got a meal in front of us. And maybe it's just sometimes a bag of chips and a Coke. And other times it's, a salad niçoise. But there's a lot of conversation, and we actually kind of motivate the host of the cafe to do this, which is talking about food and drink. So we share conversation about that. Sometimes we make a date to make that meal together the next time. So it's a mixed bag of everything, but the most important thing is you're sitting down with someone else and you're having lunch or you're having dinner, which is something I think that really enhances life, and it really motivates proper nutrition and hydration. I think the one thing that through the Loop Village that I've learned quite a bit is that we all kind of want to keep our minds intact. And as we age in place because of the pandemic, there are a lot of studies that maybe infer that reading a book or doing a mind puzzle is the way to really keep your mind intact. But the studies now are proving that the most important thing to keep your mind intact and aging in place in a healthy way is social interaction. We don't realize that it's very complex. It's more complex than reading a book. It's more complex than doing a mind puzzle. So I think the headline here is the more you can be with others and interact. Sometimes if you're not even in the mood, but it's almost like working out. Sometimes you go into it and you're like, oh gosh, I just don't want to do that. And then you come out on the other side and it's completely changed your mindset. And it's fulfilling and it gives you purpose and you've learned something and you've connected with others. So that's, the underlying goal of basically all three offerings in the village. Of course, the cafe, the live classes and events. Interestingly, we've learned that the 15 minutes before the event or the class and the 15 minutes after is where the seniors really come alive. They love to chit chat before, and we love to chit chat after, just experiencing that together. And then, of course, the companionship is hugely important, we feel, because everybody needs a confidant and everybody needs something outside of the four walls they live in, something that's their own and private and very connective. And a lot of times our village buddies, which are our companions, help springboard the senior into the village. So they help get them into the classes and events, into the cafe and meeting other people, being part of this community and having a sense of belonging and identity is really, just a beautiful kind of unfolding of the village.
I guess that's one of the things I was thinking about. I'm picturing, as a businesswoman, I'm sure you identify with this. Oftentimes I'm thrust into situations where I know very few people in a room. and I'm having to meet people and to figure out, what my next steps are and who I want to have lunch with or to have conversations with. So, but the companion makes that easier, right? It's like having a friend in the room, so they're introducing you to
Exactly.
people.
Uh-huh.
What
Exactly.
and what about common interest? Are you looking for common interest with people so that there's an introduction that includes a little bit about themselves, or how does that work?
Yeah. So what we do is a lot of times we'll pair like-minded people together in the classes. So for instance, it's funny, we have this one very coveted documentary club, and it's two of our hosts and two of our seniors, and everybody kind of wants to get in. But we're going to keep that just the four of them because they make a beautiful pod. They're all very like-minded and they feel comfortable with each other. Friendships have been made. So yeah, it's almost like, in a way, like a match.com sort of thing. We match the senior with the host and then with the other people in the community to make sure that it's going to be enjoyable and comfortable for them. And it's a little mixed bag of everything, because the larger events, you can, sometimes we try and keep the events small and intimate. But with the larger ones, sometimes we don't need to. And it's, 10 to 15 people watching passively and just enjoying the music. So there is a lot of matching in personalities. We make sure we really cherry pick who our companions are and who our hosts are. And I think the underlying theme there is that we want them to feel like a good friend or a sibling, within the first 10 to 15 minutes. There's a comfort level, and that's kind of a talent in and of itself. And the other thing that we've realized through this process is a lot of the seniors, they don't want a polished human being. They want you. They want vulnerability. They want the real parts of you, which kind of takes the pressure off us because we can just be ourselves. Like sometimes with technology, as you, I'm sure, know, things happen, right? Zoom's not working. You have to log in and log out, log back in. But as my co-founder, Margot, said, there was a bloop in the loop. No big deal. No big deal at all. We can handle it.
I love that.
Yeah.
So it sounds to me as if someone who is either living alone or has a caregiver with them or because of the pandemic, we're not in lockdown, but we're certainly back in a mode where we have to be more careful about who we're seeing. So, this reminds me, you're too young to remember having pen pals, but this really reminds me of having pen pals, except that you're actually being able to see each other and form those relationships.
Exactly. I mean, this is the second best thing to being live, and the seniors get a front row seat at our events, at our classes, talking to someone. There's so much that you can get out of it. I know it's not live, but it's truly pretty great. And there's always something for them to do. It's a true Blue community that's nurtured and cared for like any other community that, that's about, there's a sense of identity and belonging there that people need, and it's not, there's always a familiar face. There's always someone smiling, and there's always someone ready to chat and interact with you.
I just think this is a fabulous idea, and I want to congratulate you because I think the whole virtual world had sort of bypassed seniors, and COVID brought the virtual world into the forefront because we didn't have any other way to see people. So congratulations on taking a situation and a moment in time and turning it into something that I think will be beneficial for seniors all over pretty soon. You're pretty much right now in California, right? But you're getting ready to go nationwide and
yeah. I mean, we have seniors kind of all over the US right now. So California, because my co-founders and I are all from California. So a lot of it is, word of mouth. But yes, we want to be nationwide and just globally. And as far as, people jumping into the village, eventually we're going to have dinner parties for couples and introductions. And so again, it goes back to that, it's a true blue community. So it's not just for people on their own, but I do think for caregivers, it's going to be wonderful because people want variety, right? So if you're going into the same, if you're together every day with your senior, to be able to put them in front of the village where there are other people that are fortifying what you're doing as a caregiver it helps. So it's a fortification to what you're doing. And we kind of parachute in to their homes with, we always say we're the ambassadors of love and friendship. So I think that is going to be very helpful to them and assisted living communities. And then just seniors in general,
I'm two things. First, I want you to tell our listeners how they can connect with the Loop Village. And then secondly, is there anything I did not ask you today that you thought I was going to that you would like to say?
Well, that's a good question. Well, the easiest way to connect is just go to theloopvillage.com and you can subscribe and pop in very easily. You don't need to do much other than give your name and just click sign up and you're good to go. We try and make it as easy as possible. And then I would say, give it a chance. And I think you can pop into the village and, it'll make your day. So I would give it a chance and look at our menu of things we do. We'd love to talk to you. I know this is something here to stay. I know it was born out of the pandemic, but I really do think that this is going to just completely enhance people's lives. So we'd love to see you.
Thank you so much, Maria. And I wish you great success because I think you are doing something that is going to be a model for the future. So
thank you so much.
Congratulations. And thank you for your time today very much. Thank you so much for listening today. And a special thanks to our sponsors and partners, National Association for Home Care and Hospice, Access, and Core Cubed. If you have not done so already, please subscribe to our podcast and take the time to leave a review on Apple Podcast. We are now also on Spotify and most other places where you find podcasts. Like and follow us on social media, and join us. Want you to spread the word and help choose home when care is needed.